Okay, so what if you could see the entire 20th century, all its chaos and glamour, through a single person's eyes, like a human camera? Well, that's pretty much what it feels like to read Christopher Isherwood. He turned his own life into this incredible record of a world in flux. So today, let's dive into the story of the man with the camera eye. So think about this for a second. On one hand, you've got a wild, flamboyant cabaret singer in the 1930s Berlin. On the other, a quiet, grieving professor in 1960s California. I mean, they seem worlds apart, right? But believe it or not, they were both captured by the very same mind. The same author who basically made it his mission to document the massive changes of his time. So how did he connect these two worlds? Let's find out. All right, first things first. To really get what makes his work so special, we've got to meet the man behind the lens. So who exactly was Christopher Isherwood? You can really think of him as a literary camera. See, Isherwood wasn't just making up stories out of thin air. He was observing the world around him with this incredible razor-sharp focus. So much so that his novels often read like memoirs. He actually said it himself, famously, "I am a camera with its shutter open, quite passive, recording, not thinking." And that idea, that's the absolute key to understanding everything he wrote. And man, his career path is like a roadmap of the 20th century's biggest moments. You can see it here. He kicks things off in this post-World War I kind of shell-shocked London in the 20s. Then he dives headfirst into the, let's say, decadent and dangerous glamour of 1930s Berlin. As war starts brewing across Europe, he's really wrestling with this question of what it means to be an artist when everything is falling apart. And then, finally, he lands in post-war America, and that's when he turns that powerful camera lens inward. Okay, let's zoom in on the place that really put him on the map. We're talking about that vibrant, chaotic, and frankly, teetering world of Weimar Berlin. I want you to just picture this for a second. You've got a city just buzzing with artistic freedom, wild cabarets, boundary-pushing art. It's a place where it felt like anything could happen. That was Berlin. But at the exact same time, in those very same streets, the shadow of Nazism was growing darker by the day. And it's that electrifying and honestly terrifying contrast that gives his most famous work its power. And this is where his genius really kicks in. Look, he wasn't writing these huge historical epics. Nope. He was writing about the real people who were just trying to live their lives while history was exploding around them. It was through their everyday dramas, their love affairs, their fears, that's how he captured the soul of the era. All that incredible creative energy and all that creeping dread. And of course, this era gave us one of the most iconic characters in all of literature, Sally Bowles. Now, you probably know her from the musical and the movie Cabaret, right? Well, she was born right here, in Isherwood's pages. She is Weimar Berlin in human form. You know, glamorous, a little tragic, and completely, blissfully unaware that she's basically dancing on the rim of a volcano. So his two big novels from this time, Mr. Norris Changes Trains and Goodbye to Berlin, were eventually collected into one volume called The Berlin Stories. And you have to understand, together they're so much more than just a couple of books. They're basically a time capsule. It's our best, most vivid window into those last frantic, chaotic days of the Weimar Republic. But, as Europe just slid closer and closer to another world war, Isherwood's focus began to change. His work starts asking this really big, profound question. What's an artist supposed to do when the world is literally falling apart around them? Do you just keep making your art, or do you have some kind of responsibility to get involved? And you can see him wrestling with this all over his work from this time. I mean, look at the memorial. It's all about the trauma that World War I left behind. Then you have Journey to War, which is basically him staring right into the abyss of World War II. And Prater Violet? Man, that one hits it right on the head. It's about a film director trying to make this light, fluffy movie while his own home country, Austria, is being consumed by the Nazis. Talk about a dilemma. So yeah, this is the question that just haunts his writing during this period. What is an artist's job in a crisis? Is it okay to just keep creating beautiful things, or do you have to, join the fight? Isherwood never really gives us a simple answer, because there isn't one, but he makes it clear that it's a question we absolutely have to ask. And then, everything changed. Isherwood leaves Europe, a continent just on the verge of tearing itself apart, and he moves to California. And in this completely new world, he finds a totally new voice. He finally turns that camera eye away from society and points it inward. And this comparison just lays it out perfectly. I mean, look. The camera that was focused on the political chaos of Berlin. Now it's turned inward. His focus shifts completely, away from the external world of big political events and into the internal world of personal struggles, identity, and grief. And the absolute masterpiece of this new, more personal phase of his writing is this incredible novel from 1964 called A Single Man. So the book follows just one single day in the life of George, an English professor who is grieving the recent death of his long-term partner. And what made this book so just groundbreaking was how honestly and beautifully it portrayed gay life and gay love. You have to remember, this was a topic that was pretty much completely invisible in mainstream culture back then. And really, this is what elevates Isherwood from just being a great writer to being a truly important one. He was an openly gay man, living in a time that was incredibly repressive, and he refused to hide. He put his own experiences right at the heart of his work. In doing so, he challenged what was considered normal, and basically paved the way for generations of LGBTQ+ writers who came after him. So after this incredible life spent observing the world, what is Isherwood's lasting legacy? Why do his books still feel so powerful and relevant today? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. First, he gave us the most definitive account of the fall of the Weimar Republic. Second, he was a true pioneer, writing openly and honestly about gay characters when pretty much no one else was. Third, he explored these huge, timeless themes, identity, loss, feeling like an outsider, that we can all relate to. And finally, his writing style itself, that clear, precise, camera eye prose, it set a whole new standard. He was, without a doubt, a vital voice of his century. When you look at it all, his influence is just huge. It stretches all the way into modern literature and especially into LGBTQ+ representation. He showed us that to understand the biggest, most sweeping historical events, you have to look at the small, personal moments. He didn't just write fiction, he recorded history as people were actually living it, which is why he's remembered as such a crucial observer of his time. And that kind of leaves us with a final question to think about. Isherwood's whole thing was using his art like a camera, recording his world with his unflinching honesty. So it makes you wonder, if a writer is a camera, what parts of our world, right now, are we failing to record? What crucial stories are we just not seeing?